Today we're going to make a manger scene. I'll put a picture of it here or here, and you can see what we're working on. I am putting down my chainsaw, taking off my chainsaw art guy hat for today, and I'm picking up a whittling knife because today I'm going to be making this manger scene. And I'm standing out here in the front of my house because the materials for these I'm going to get by cutting down this holly bush back here that grew up behind this evergreen. I need it gone. It needs to come out of there, and it has material in it that's just the right size. I've got 2 orders for these, and I'm doing them now because I'm pretending it's Christmas in July, and I am going to probably make a 3rd one so that I have an extra one on hand. So come along. We're gonna cut this tree down, cut it into pieces. I'll show you how I whittle and get this project done. There's a little bit of painting going on in it, and we'll have a manger scene. We're gonna have the baby Jesus, of course. We're going to have Mary and Joseph, an angel, and 3 wise men. And I know they weren't all there at the same time for you biblical scholars, but the typical manger scene has those pieces in it, so that's what we're gonna have today here at Made in Papa's Woodshop. I just caught that I'm making a Christmas decoration out of a holly bush. That's fun. Okay, so I discovered that it's gonna be easier if I just use the chainsaw to cut it down. Now that I've got a path and I can get the saw in there. So I've all got it cut now. I'm gonna trim up all the branches and see what kind of material I have in there that I can work with. Except I forgot to put my safety gear on. Don't do this. I'm gonna drag this pile into the backyard where I've got some better shade and get this thing cleaned up. All right, that holly tree produced quite a few pieces here, and let's see how many of them are going to be big enough. What I determined for this project is that they need to be an inch around, no, 3.5 inches around in order to have an inch diameter. And that one is only 3 at its widest part. This one is interesting. See how flat it is? It'll give us 3.5 at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, from here down, it's going to be thick enough. So that one's okay. We can use that one, which means this one's going to be okay too. I thought maybe I would use this one. Does this look like an angel? I can put these 2 wings like straight up, sort of curved and facing each other with a face. I don't know. We'll see. This one, too skinny. And this one, these are for sure going to be okay. A little further down. And they all have to be 6 inches at a minimum. So, let me get a pencil and start marking off the 6-inch pieces and then see if they're actually straight enough to stand up. Okay, I decided to go with a marker so we can see it better. And I'll kneel down here where we can talk a little better. And I'm gonna mark, the first place is where it at first is big enough. All right, so when you wrap something like this, or at least this is how I do it, if you wrap it to where the 1 would touch the 4.5 to have 3.5, so that's not enough. So let's come down a little further. There we go, 1's touching 4, that's 3. Going, we're getting closer. Wow. Okay, it's more like right in there somewhere is where we're gonna have a 3.5 inch diameter. So let's mark that one. That would be the top of 1. And then, do we have 6 inches? Yes, for sure. Do we have 12? Maybe. So let's see if, why don't we say, we're going to give a little space to straighten that out at the bottom, and then mark it at 12 all the way up here, and see if I can get 2 out of that. I might. That might give me Mary and Joseph, for example. All right, so that's a good one. So maybe we have Mary and Joseph and an angel. Now let's see how far down we have to go to get 3.5 on this one. Ooh, that's 4.5. Oh, wait a minute, that's what I want. 4.5, because it's 4.5 minus 1 is 3. So right in there is where it starts to be big enough around. And then, oh yeah, we've easy got 12 inches there without even getting into the stump. So, but it's kind of crooked. Let's see. That's 6 inches pretty straight. And then I may have to come down here further to get 6 straight inches. So it's going to be right in there somewhere. And then, you know, this area right in here would be unused. Okay, and then this one, we got a lot of beefy material here. Let's see. So right there, we've already starts to be 3.5 right below that knot. And let's see what we can get out of there. That's a pretty straight piece at 6. Another pretty straight piece. There's 1, 2. And now it's getting kind of big. I don't want to make them too wonky, too far off. So I think we'll just cut that off. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if we can get any out of this side. So the 1 needs to touch the 4.5 again. Wow. Oh, it doesn't get big enough until all the way down here. So let's see, maybe we have 1 tall skinny shepherd. Let's cut it straight there and get 6 inches here. So let's go through this again. Let's say we have Mary and Joseph. We have 1, 2, 3 wise men, an angel, and baby Jesus. Oh, we got plenty of room here for 1. So let's get these cut up and get started making the first one. I really thought we'd get enough out of this holly bush to get 3 manger scenes, but it looks like I'm only going to get 1. And this manger scene has, it doesn't have any shepherds. This one just has the 3 wise men, Mary and Joseph, an angel, and baby Jesus. So I got enough for this one, but I've got a volunteer maple that I need to cut down. That might be right, but I'm going to go measure it first because I was growing it for walking stick. Just let it grow to get a decent walking stick out of it. So if it's not just perfect, I won't cut it down. This first cut is an attempt to flatten the bottom of this first character first. My break is kind of slow. That turned out pretty decent. Let's see. It should stand tall by itself. So now let's cut that at 6 inches. And I'm going to have to find a way to get it to lay flat. There we go. So let's do 6. And of course, they don't have to be perfect because, you know, not everybody's the same height, same size. But I don't want, you know, a midget and a giant in there together. Down, boy. Hush. My goodness. I appreciate your hard work, but you don't have to whine so much about it. Now, let's see. I am going to have to turn that one up kind of funny there to get it flat. And then estimate 6 inches about there. And just a tiny bit more. There. Uh-oh. Gonna have to straighten that bottom out a little bit. Yeah, it'll stand if the bottom's straight. Down, boy. Thank you. Wow. Got to get that fixed. Okay, so there's the first two and how to get them to stand up. And I'm going to cut the rest of them and come back to you in just a minute. That last cut was uber dangerous because of the fact that the branch wouldn't set flush against the bottom or the back of the compound miter. So I'm putting it in here, and we're going to do the old-fashioned way with a handsaw. Gloria, oh Gloria, in excelsis Deo. Oh, hey. All right, I'm back. Here's my manger scene. This is going to be the manger. This cute little flat piece. I'm going to cut a piece of this for baby Jesus, but I'm going to leave it whole so I have a handle so that while I'm working on it, I got something to hold on to, and then when I get finished, I'll cut it off, make that the right length. So let's say we have Mary and Joseph, and we have an angel, and even though these guys in the Bible came along about the time baby Jesus was 2, we're going to have 3 wise men, because that's what's in the picture, and it's a wonderful reminder for us to worship the King. And then I have an extra one here. So on these, well, that's great. See how he bowed down to worship? That's pretty cool. So on these, I only am going to use about the top 1/4, maybe just a little bit more for shoulders, the gift, the beard, and the head. So of the entire height, I'm only going to be carving from about here up. And I'm going to leave the bark on all the rest of it. So that's the plan. And I'm going to practice on one here and then come back, show you what I did, and we'll work on the second one together. So I didn't have enough material to make the 2 manger scenes from the holly bush. So I let this volunteer maple grow here because I wanted it to make some walking sticks. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it down. This one in the middle here is certainly big enough for a walking stick. Maybe this one too. And then I can get enough material for the second manger scene. And while we're talking, I wanted to tell you something else. I was listening this morning as I went for my walk to Omar interviewing Myron Goldman. And he talked about lie identity my identity and identity, and it was so helpful to me. Identity is that group of stuff that we think about ourselves based on what other people tell us. Things we're not good enough at, ways that we don't measure up, and it's baggage. My identity is the stuff I try to make up to get the external world to think about me. It's how I want them to perceive me. That's my identity. But identity comes only from the I am. It's what God thinks about me. Wow, that was awesome. So next I'm gonna cut this down and get ready for that second manger scene. So I'm gonna use this big piece here like a knob for the top of a walking stick on this thick piece. And then I'm gonna use these other two for the manger scene. That should work out really good. Yesterday, I had the scary experience with that holly wood that I was cutting up for a manger scene on the my compound miter, and it threw one of the pieces, and I didn't get hurt. It went off to the side. I praise God for that, but I'm not going to repeat that scenario again because it has great risk. So I'm going to use my chainsaw to mark out the 6-inch pieces and only use the compound miter to change the pitch of the bottom so that the stick stands straight up and down. And that's all I'm going to use it for. We're back now taking a look at how progress is going. This little guy right here, this Wiseman was my first one, and I did it exclusively in the shaping with the knife. And the knife looks like this. It's a basic beginner's carving whittling knife. Then I realized the detail wasn't enough, and so I got my Dremel out and I started using various bits. Like I have this one that is nice and cone shaped but round on the end. I've been using this one, which is very sharp and pointed on the end. I've got the one that's in my Dremel right now. It's very coarse and it's used for pulling off large chunks of material. So then I did this one, and I did it exclusively with either the Dremel or this little Drill Master guy that I got at Harbor Freight. I think it was like a whole $10 for the whole kit, and realized there's some great advantages to having a smaller tool in my hand and to being able to use these stone grinding bits. So learning, and by the time I got to this third one, which I am still working on, what I discovered was, applying everything I'd learned from the first two, was take this knife first, cut off the bark, cut it down to size, and that is the fastest way to get there from the three tools that I've tried. What I'm going to do next, now that I have it to size, is I'm going to use both of the Dremel because I have a set of bits for it that are metal, and then I have a set of bits for this little guy that are stone. And these are the fastest ways I've discovered so far to put the details into the face. So I'm going to finish that one up, and then come back and actually we'll do one together. I said at first I was only going to do one, but I realized I just really hadn't developed enough understanding and skill to be able to show anything that you'd want to watch. So, experiments so far, and we'll be back to do one together. I've got two of the the Wiseman done. And here's Joseph. And next I'm going to do Mary. Come down. So what I've learned so far is to come down about 1/3 of the way to mark the bottom edge. So like for Mary, see her here? I'm gonna come down about 1/3 of the way and start making these markings so that her hands are together, to have a little bit of the color of the top of her robe, and then round the top of it off. And for all of that, I don't need any bark. And the best tool I've discovered to get the bark off is this whittling knife. So to get that angle, the first thing I'm gonna do is put a hard cut into it this way and into it this way. Now before I do that, let me get my glove, my protective glove on. This is really valuable to protect your hand. And then I'm gonna push in here really hard so that I leave that bark on there until I can get her hands carved. And then I push up and away from myself and get rid of the bark. And then I can make a cut line all the way around the back to do the same thing. Get rid of the bark. And some of that soft, really wet wood that's underneath. It's wet because I just cut the tree yesterday when I started this project. See how nice that comes off there? I just sharpened my knife. The key I am learning is to keep the knife really, really sharp. Really, really sharp, because the sharper it is, the less you have to push, the less you have to push, the less risk there is of damaging your art, and worse yet, the less risk there is of you slipping and damaging yourself. Now what I'm doing here is I'm rounding off the top of the head. I just need to get rid of a lot of this material here, and I can do that most quickly again with this whittling knife. I've tried the first one I did it almost entirely with the knife, thought that was super slow, decided to get the Dremel out, did the second one almost entirely with the Dremel, and realized that there were parts of the carving process that the Dremel was just too slow, or it was too messy. Like it would accomplish the task fast, but it would leave such a rough, messy surface that was just ugly. So on this one, I'm trying to apply all of those things that I learned, use the whittling knife here to get all the bark off, to round out the top of the head, to get the size of the face and hair right. See what I just did there? See how I hit my glove? That would have been, I'd have taken off a big piece of meat had I not had that protective glove on there. So the protective glove is a really, really important part, because no matter how careful you think you're being, at least this has been true for me, I have sat down, totally focused, totally in my zone to create something ready to just be super careful. Didn't like the cumbersomeness of the glove. Wanted to be able to feel both hands on the art, and cut myself. So it's not worth it. It's kind of like painting. I've done the same thing painting. Sit down, ready to get just as utterly comfortable and careful and protective as I could possibly be, and I still get paint on my clothes. So I just put on paint clothes, just like I do here. I put on something to protect my hand. All right, so there's basic Mary to start with. I've carved away all the bark, rounded off the head, and now I'm going to use the Dremel, and I'm going to put in her head dress. I'm going to use this bit. Oop, nope, not that bit. I'll have to swap them out. I'm going to use this bit here because I can get into the edges here like this and actually make an indentation and a line, and I can carve all the way around and give a good impression of the headdress. So I'm going to swap this out, and I am going to take the glove off for this because it's really hard for me to feel how things are going with that glove on. And I've experimented with a bunch of different bits to see what I like, and this is what I've learned so far works best for me. So I'm going to start at the top and see how her headdress is higher than her hair. So I'm going to go ahead and put in an indentation here. See how that's starting to come clear? Oh, I have lots of dust on my camera lens. How well that's coming out. See how the indentation is there? So now I'm going to take it all the way around and get the rest of her headdress. All right, so once I set that impression in for the headdress, what you saw me do there last is removing some of the surface area, because if that's the headdress, it clearly can't be face underneath all of that. So next, I'm going to make a line. See where her hair is? I'm going to make another line underneath to kind of outline where the hair is going to be. Okay, and my hands are trembling because I've been at this for a few hours this morning. Here, let's get that on the black. There we go. So you see that little bit of a line there for her hair? And again, what you saw me do last is I was removing more of the surface because the forehead's not going to stick out further than the hair, right? All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little groove here and start developing the hands. There's not much to develop, but there is a slit right there that I'm going to start with this bit, and I'll have to use a different one to finish it. Okay, that's good for now for this bit. Let's see, so next I'm going to take the bit and I'm going to pull some material out here for an eye socket. Do the same on this side. And then I'm going to trim down in and start to shape the nose, being really careful to leave a cheekbone. The eye sockets in the nose, and since Mary is not going to have a beard, everything under the nose is going to go down to a little chin. Let's do that next. Okay, now, looking at Mary here, I've tried to smooth out the cheeks and get rid of that strong jawline that would make her look male. And now I'm going to push the chin back, because right now it looks like she's sticking her chin out. And that's okay when you've got a beard. Or at least I'm okay with that when I'm making a beard. But I'm going to push that back next. Okay, there is her basic shape. Got her little chin, her little hands. And so next I'm going to change bits and dig a little deeper in between her hands, give her little eyes, and smooth it out.
And there's Mary. In this simple manger scene, we're basically just doing some hair and headdress, giving the understanding that there are eyes, ears, nose, cheeks, and in this case, hands. And they're all going to fit together. And in context, and with a little bit of paint, the idea will be that this is 3 wise men, Mary and Joseph, and the baby Jesus. There's baby Jesus right there. That one's going to be fun. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. I really look forward to finishing this, putting a little paint on it. And once I get all of that done, I'll take a little bit of footage of that and finish out this video. Let me know if you've made something like this. I'd love to see yours. This is not my regular forte, but it's a fun thing that a couple of customers asked me to make for them. And so I want to get them done, make them look really good so that they're really happy, and share it with you. I got far enough along here that I feel reasonably comfortable showing you how I'm doing this. It's developing as time goes on, and I'm using different tools to get different results. I'm discovering that different tools make it easy for different things. My primary tools are this whittling knife and the Dremel. And the Dremel in this case is this bit right here, and I'll show you how I'm using it. Now this nativity set here is finished in the carving stage, and then I've gone through and put white everywhere I want white, and I'm letting it dry. And so now I'm going to come back and pick, let's start working on the other set, and I want to show you how I did the whittling. I like to test each one and make sure they're going to stand up by themselves, and then kind of set it up against something that's familiar and see about where to continue with the same style. I need to start the debarking. And so see right there where my thumb is, I need to make sure that I'm cutting that off about there up, and go ahead and get that bark off of there. And this tool is the best one I've discovered for me for that. It makes quicker work of it, and it's not messy. So what I tried, I got a really abrasive Dremel tool here, and it did really quick work, good work, but it was fuzzy, and that's not the look that I want. So I am going back to using the whittling knife to get the bark off and to remove a lot of the material that isn't sculpture, or in this case, I don't know what to call these. These are, I guess sculpture is still the right word. So I'm just digging in a little bit and pushing away, digging in and pushing away. And all I'm trying to get rid of is the bark and some of that really wet material that I think is essentially the nutrient track for the tree. And I wear this when I start getting aggressive, and then of course I wear this to protect my hand. And I praise God I had it on earlier, because I was really bearing down on a piece like this and my hand slipped and I went thunk right into here, And had I not had the glove on, I'd have had a big hole in my hand. Nice bloody mess. But that would have hurt for a long time. So the reason I have this in, I want to show you how I got comfortable making the king's headdresses. You can see there I've got two different kinds. This one basically is, you can see the circle at the top, the bottom, and then the cloth is hanging down all the way around. This one, I put little markings in it all the way around just to give it a little bit of a feel. And then I gave it a bit of a lip, kind of like you'd see on a, oh, I don't know, some sort of fancy hat you might see somebody wearing at a party. Trying to keep it masculine looking. So to do that, I use this. I'll turn the Dremel on here and show you. I run it just around the edge. So you can see right there, I want to run that groove all the way around until I get the top of the hat small like this one. See how it's starting to take shape there as the round top of the hat. And this tool does this so much faster than the knife. Now I'm going to make it a little smaller, and then I'm going to start the next row. Okay, there you see the two levels of the hat, the top and the brim. And then I'm going to take the same tool and run it this way to put the groove under the edge of the top of the hat. So there you can see the brim of the hat. And I like doing it with this tool, even though I started out doing it with the whittling knife. I just found that since I had so many of them to do, I thought, well, this is just a lot faster to use the Dremel for this particular task. Now I'm going to use the whittling knife because to take some of this material off, because the face and the hair shouldn't extend out past the hat. So, you know, we've got too much material here. And so I'm just going to remove that, some of it all the way around. You know, terms like some and a lot are really subjective. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. Be able to explain it better when I get done. And this is critical to go gently and slowly here as you approach the brim, because if my knife slips, I'm pushing too hard, I'm going to cut the brim right off the hat, and then I'd have to make, oh, look at that, see, that's what I did. I have to come up with a design adjustment for that spot in the hat. Well, phooey, I showed you exactly what I was saying be careful not to do. Okay, so the back of this hat is going to be flat. We're going to put his face over here. And let me straighten this out. That was very fragile. Did not expect that. So let's make it look intentional. It's always good to have a hard stop where you've cut a groove, I've learned, and a little bit of whittling that I've done to make sure, had I cut a deeper groove here like this, then when I was coming up against it, I'd have had a hard stop and I wouldn't have removed the back edge of his hat, which is now what I meant to do. Yeah, that's what I meant to do. A design adjustment, design modification. Get some more of this material off. It's okay to have quite a bit of it in the back because, like, the headdress can angle down away from the hat and maybe stick out some. That's kind of cool. But I want it to be tapered, so I'm taking a little bit of that out. And then frequently I just stop and hook my blade on the stone just a little bit. The time it takes to sharpen the knife is certainly worth it, and it really doesn't take much. With this stone I found, looks like it says Gordon, G-O-R-D-O-N, combination sharpening stone. It has a medium and a fine grit. Doesn't take much, and the sharpness is back on. Okay, so let's think about this one. What do I want to do? This style has just shoulders, and the gift is right up under the chin. Let me draw here a little bit. Let's put his gift here, right under his chin. Beard is just touching the top of the gift. And it's interesting that the Bible says the wise men. It doesn't say how many, it just says that their gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So we know how many, what the gifts were, and how many the gifts were, how many different types. So we take some creative liberties to imagine how it might have happened. But the key is God really came to earth in the form of baby Jesus to give us new life, to be a sacrifice for our sins so that we don't have to die for our sins. And then he came also to bring heaven to earth so that we could enjoy a shadow of what heaven will be like. So something like that. You see his little face? And I typically start somewhere where I know there's going to be a deep groove, like under the nose. I know that that's going to be a pretty deep groove. So I'll put a mark in there and then cut from the top of the mouth up to the bottom of the nose and remove that piece. See, it kind of gives him a little shape to his nose. I want it deeper than that. I want this little guy to have a bigger nose. So put in another groove and I cut in again. There we go. And the same thing here for the side of his nose. I push in hard up around the eye socket. And work my way down. Sometimes I turn it over. And then I've got to very carefully bring this in from the top down to where I made that mark, and then gently lift out that piece so I get the side of the nose. The nose. Just keep working that away until I've got an indentation there in his cheek. So as I go along here, I need to leave a cheekbone right here. So I'm going to take some of this out down this way, and then I'll take more out up into the eye, and you'll see my attempt to leave a cheekbone. Be like so, and come up to it, and then up above that cheekbone I'm going to go in for the eye socket. See, I kind of left a cheekbone ridge there. And these are rustic, simplistic looking representational, inspired by, are some descriptive words that work. So then I rounded out the bottom of his nose there. And he's got this big beard, and the way this this style has a shoulder that starts, let me draw it. It starts right here. Maybe a little more forward. Let's put it here. Okay, so I've got to remove some material here so that you can see the shoulder, and then I'll remove all the material that's between the shoulder and the beard and the gift, and I'm going to start by mashing some lines in there with my knife. And then I can take out a chunk, like so, and start to form that shoulder. I actually prefer to hold the carving in my lap. I seem to have better control of my knife. But I didn't think while I was showing you this that it was good camera angle to be carving in my lap. So I'm trying to work it out up here. And actually this is probably safer, because if I were to slip when I have it in my lap and cut myself, that would be a bad deal. I'm going to cut in there really deep. See how far in I've got my knife there? Because that's actually the side of the gift. And I want that to be nice and square, because in my imagination, he's carrying a box. Keep carving this away until I get that shoulder. And again, it's the same thing over and over and over again. And just figure out where's the backstop cut go, and then come in from the other side and remove the little piece that I want gone. And you see these little shoulders starting to form there. Let's see, it's one more time here. Then turn the corner like that. Get more, you can kind of see the shoulder there. And then I want to get rid of this piece here between the beard and the gift. So I'll press my knife in hard right there. Pull it out. And then press it in hard here along the beard line down to the edge of the gift. Sometimes I wiggle a little. I don't know if that's a good technique or not, but it helps me not destroy something. Okay, there, you see I got that big chunk came out of there. And we'll do it one more time, a little deeper. I want it clear back to the edge of the shoulder. And sometimes I have to go back and retrace all three cuts to get it to come out right. All right, now I'm going to make a line across the top of the gift and remove just a little bit of beard coming down this way to define the top of that box a little bit. Let's see, getting that box to show up a little bit better. I'm going to do one more, deeper, and then cut down to my stop cut. So the knife, when it hits that, when it joins up where the other cut is, you can literally feel it pop. And in order to make it go further, I'd have to push really, really hard. But since I'm feeling for that pop, I'm able to slow the knife down, get rid of a little bit more here. I don't want his forehead going clear up to his hat. That doesn't make any sense. His face should be back up under that brim in my imagination. Because, you know, it doesn't really look like a person. It clearly looks like a stick, but it's supposed to. That's the charm of this particular manger scene. Well, I mean, not only Jesus is the star of the show, but the charm is the rustic, the fact that their faces protruding out of sticks, and just a unique, different way of portraying the scene. It's kind of fun. Oh, let's see. Having a little little trouble with my knife, so we'll get the stone back out. And try to keep the angle right. Go both ways. And it's kind of like I'm trying to shave a little bit of the stone off. Is what I find that works for me. You can maybe see the reflection of how the metal comes off. But it's so worth the time to stop and just keep sharpening. And then I just keep playing. Say, all right, let's define this side of the gift here. And here. Let's see where my thumb is right here. That would be so bad without this glove if I slipped. I still don't want to slip because I don't want to test the glove and see if it's as good as I hope it is. Only one way to find out, and I'm not interested in finding out. So I still try to be really careful and not slip. You know, if I'm having to push too hard, either my knife is not sharp enough or I've bit off too much of the wood. So I gotta go back and narrow the depth of my cut or sharpen my knife, or both. Okay, now let's see, get that shoulder drawn in there. And I find that the left side is so much harder for me than the right. Well, I guess left side is I'm facing it. It would be the right hand side of the carving. And it's so funny how different this is from chainsaw carving, clearly. But the principles are really the same. You got to get your artwork, your template, dream up your design, get your reference pictures together, get your materials together, get your tools sharpened, whether it's the chain or your knife, and cautiously remove what doesn't belong. And if you're not sure, you slow down and step back and look at it and make a decision about what you're going to remove next. And if you make a mistake, you rework your design to incorporate the mistake and make it a feature instead of an error. And you enjoy removing the pieces of wood that don't belong. Enjoy the process of turning a raw piece of wood into a piece of art. And on and on and on it goes. Okay, he's starting to have the features that I want. Let's see, we've got little, big, powerful, thick jaw on this side and a little thin one on the other side. So trim that down a little bit, make it match better. Put in a stop line there. Cut down again. There we go. That's starting to look more like a shoulder. You can hear that train. Commerce is underway out there. Let's see. Sometimes the best way to do the other side, whichever that is for you, if you're right-handed, this is probably going to be your smoothest, simplest, easiest side. Sometimes the easiest way to do it is flip it over and do it this way. And you can, then you're still working with your strong side skill rather than working to develop your weak side skill. Although both are important, because some spots you get into, you really can't turn it over. All you can do is patiently work your way through it with less coordination in that hand. I can eat with both hands, but I can't write very well with both hands. And I sure can't use tools very well with both hands. Although, like with a drill, screwdriver, even a hammer, not too terribly bad with both hands. But when it comes to the finesse with a knife, with a chainsaw, with an angle grinder, a Dremel, I am very much right-handed. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. Let's cut this other brow line here. And see, if I cut up this way from this side, I'll cut the top of his nose off. So I've got to flip it over and then very, very carefully do it upside down and see if I can mimic the angle on the other side close enough. Put a cut down the side of his nose. So I've got a stop line. And then trying to remember the cheekbone. Make a cut line this way. And then work my way up here. Trying my very, very best not to cut his nose off. I think I'm going to stop using the word try. I am going carefully so that I don't cut his nose off. Now I'm tapering his beard so that it's not quite as square. Faces aren't usually very square. Sometimes you say, you know, guy's got a square jaw, or she's got an almond-shaped face, or, you know, there is some truth to that, but nothing is precisely that way. Nose is really starting to look like a nose now. And I still left the cheekbones. I've got the eye sockets in place. Now, since these are going to be painted, I don't necessarily have to cut the holes for the eyes, because they're just going to be little dots of black paint anyway. Okay, that's not too terribly bad. Let's see. Chin is sticking out too far. Looks like he's thrusting his chin out. He's mad. He's not. He's worshiping. And he's in awe. He's excited. He's probably even a little fearful, because he's not sure. What do I do with this whole God came to earth thing? Wow. Maybe he doesn't know yet how much he's loved. But he certainly is in awe. And he's certainly happy to be there. So his chin is not going to be thrust out in some sort of defiance. So get that out of the way. I'll feel a little better if I poke a little tiny hole right there for an eye. Now on these other ones, I did use the Dremel quite a bit, but that's because I was trying to figure out what was the best way to do this to get the result I wanted and to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. I'm not that concerned with time when I'm making art, but I have several people that have placed orders that want them, and so I try not to make them wait too long. So the ones that I'm working on, I try to be efficient, get them done reasonable speed. Because, you know, if you tie the art you make to the clock, especially if you're selling the item, you can, or at least for me, it somewhat destroys my creativity when I'm thinking, oh, you know, I'm only charging this much for this, which is a really good deal for the customer. And to make it a good deal for me, I have to get it done in X number of hours. Well, maybe, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that I prepare the value that my art customer is expecting, and that my art gives them the feeling that they're looking for, that it helps them celebrate a birthday or celebrate Christmas, or they want to memorialize a pet that died, or They want to give a family legacy gift of a carving to Grandpa's favorite dog that everybody still talks about, that died 20 years ago, but they want a memory legacy statue for the fireplace, mantle, whatever it is. That feeling that they're seeking is my end goal to try to produce. Okay, well, let's give him just a little bit of a mouth in that beard. Just a tiny little indentation to go along with the rustic look of people emerging from sticks to tell a story. These people emerging from the sticks tell the story of Emmanuel, God with us. And so there's one of the wise men helping to tell the story. So there he is. He's got his little gift up under his chin. You can see his shoulders, his hat, some basic features, eyes, cheeks, nose, beard, and I'll come back and paint. So now the white paint was drying. Like here's Mary. Her hands are going to be white. Her headdress is white. Her face, I wanted it a little creamy. White was as close as I could get. And now I'm going to come back through and put in just a little bit of black hair for her. Tiny little dots for her eyes. Tiny little thin line for her mouth. And then I'm going to give her a red, like here and here. I'm going to put in a little bit of red for the dress that she's wearing and leave her head covering white. I think she can turn out okay. So once I get the black started, I'm going to put the black on all of them in all of the same spots. Do all the eyes, all the mouths, anywhere I need black, and then probably let that dry, carve something else. And while that's dry, when that's carved, I'll go back and I'll put in, red or peach or some light brown. You can see here the different colors in the example photo that my customer gave me. Different colors. All the beards will probably be brown. All the hair will be brown, or she looks like she's got black hair. And then you can see the little trim. Even though his headdress is all white, you see the little shadowing the trim. So I'll try to put in little features like that.